And today I am joined by Rain Chocolate and Ithaca Hawk again from yesterday. We're preparing the stage for match one, but I'll send it away to them. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Nikolai. It's good to be back. It was a fun day yesterday. There's quite a lot of really close matches, and there was some unexpected results as well. Some people pulling out some clutch plays at the last minute. Some matches we'd already called as, one had lost, one had won, and it was turned around in the last few minutes. So I'm hoping to see some more exciting matches today.
Yeah, I was able to tune in. Kind of second half of the day, I watched the live stream. It looked pretty entertaining.
Yeah, definitely some clutch E-War plays and some clutch tackle, but a lot of people just going for this kind of straight DPS setup, just burn through everything as fast as possible and just put everything into your DPS. It's interesting and definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that no one really brought Logi, and when they did, they got destroyed. So I find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, there was a couple of Logi setups. One team elected to use dual Logi frigates, which was an interesting move. Although it didn't end so well for them, with the two Logi frigates being eviscerated very, very quickly, and then down to only 3 pilots. The rest of the team was just kind of picked apart.
Right. I was really interested. I was really hoping they would pull it out, but with 2 of your 5 pilots going to Logi, and then another one being in a support role as well, they just weren't able to pull the DPS or the range with those frigates to be able to be effective. We're also joined today by Jin Tan. He was commentating alongside us, and he's just arriving now, along with our first team. So we're just waiting on one more team to get started. But Jin, good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Sorry, afternoon for most of you, but some of us folks are still slightly waking up.
I'm just putting some delicious caffeine in my body and trying to figure out where the hell I need to be. But
yeah, we'll get that sorted out. Hopefully, we'll have the other team on field shortly.
So today, I think I'm looking forward to seeing Make Amar great again. They fielded entire Amar ship teams yesterday, which was quite interesting to watch. And obviously, the teams they'll be facing today, they know that's likely to happen again. So they'll be able to perhaps counter that, bring maybe dedicated jams or something. So is Amar great to make Amar great again? Are they going to bring another full Amar setup, which I want to see? Or are they going to pull something else out of the bag and bring maybe a different race to try and counter any metagaming counters that someone else would bring?
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
The real question is, are the opponents going to be wonderful, honourable people and not be dicks about it? Or...
Well, this is Eve.
This is Eve. That was exactly my reaction too.
If you know your opponent's strategy, why not counter that? Especially, I think it's great that they're, I don't know if you want to call it role-playing, but I think it's great that they're going with their name and going all the same race.
They are,
exactly.
As Apophany would say, they are in fact living the dream.
Okay, so it looks like the second team just landing on grid now.
Yeah, give us 1 second and we'll give them a preview of the teams. But back to everybody seems to be interested about that Make Amar Great Again team. We won't see them for another hour, but it's an interesting thing. The metagame versus are you going to play fair? But that's such a really strong setup that if you don't go with the ECM setup against it, are you going to be able to break those heavy armor tanks that can both brawl at range or brawl close in, or switch their ammo types and fight a range setup well like they did yesterday?
So interestingly, what we're seeing here with both teams now in the field, one of these setups is pretty much exactly what Make Amar Great Again brought yesterday. Although that's not them on the field, this is Socket Closed fielding that particular team. So perhaps they watched that fight and thought, hang on, maybe Amar is great.
Maybe they're prepping for the finals already. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's see. It is an exact mirror matchup. They have what Make Amar Great Again brought. They have Omen, Mauler, Omen, and a Harbinger to round it out and give the links. What has the test team brought?
Well, it looks like they're bringing a setup that they brought yesterday, and we saw some success with this setup from a couple of teams. Dual Serb, Dual Punisher, and Mollis. So the two tackle Punishers, heavily tanked Tech 1 frigates, able to just rush in, and those Serbs, most likely rapid lights, and probably, from what we saw yesterday, they're going to be pretty heavily locally tanked as well. They were boosting yesterday, so a strong tanky team there with the Punishers and the Serbs. Because that Mollis able to provide EWAR and just stop any long range weapons being applied to those Serbs if they choose to kite around.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see. The countdown will start momentarily. We'll see if they're able to pull that strategy out.
I find it interesting too because if you look, the socket close team all warped in at 0, so obviously they want to get in and get close. Whereas the Serb team and the test team kind of landed 25, 30 kilometers away. So they obviously, I mean, they're Serbs, they want to kite. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys can, if the socket close team can get in and actually apply their DPS, or like if the Serbs can get away. We have the countdown going, 10 seconds till the match starts.
So socket close coming in at 0, they're obviously intending to brawl, and we're seeing the links already starting to be applied from that Harbinger. Links in such a small setup, of course, very, very important.
Yes, for sure. And they are both immediately flying in. They're
And
primarying the...
Yeah, clouds
see
of drones
EC
immediately
drones
heading
out.
for that Mollis.
ECM drones from the kiting team, but we see one Mollis running away and taking all of the light damage
see the
drones
late-
from the
Yeah,
Samar
so
team.
he is in very low armor. He's about to go into structure, but he doesn't get away from these drones very, very soon. Some of those drones are starting to tail behind him as they burn off their micro warp drives, but he is really struggling. He's going to have to really overheat and just try and pull range from those drones if he wants to stand a chance of surviving.
And a good strategy for this is since all these drones are following him, the further he gets away from his teammates, I guess, then that takes longer time for those drones to then, if once he dies, to get back on his team. So he's just buying them time now at this point.
And
Sure,
it
it
appears
looks
that
like he
only
has
one
stabilized.
player is recalling the drones. Now everybody is. He's finally overheated his micro warp drive, it looks like, in half hull. But everybody's pulling their drones off of the Mollis, while that
Great
Omen
play there
looks like
by
it might be going down.
A great play by Soldaris there to just get away, pull those drones off, and just keep alive. Although there are a couple of Valkyries just trundling after them, they're not really going to be able to catch up with a fast little frigate like the Mollis.
Right, I think that might be a mistake that they'll pay for later if they're missing that solid DPS for more than a couple minutes. And it looks like they've shifted onto the Punisher of Suicide.
Yeah, but Punishers are so tanky, and this whole time they're Omens in half armor, or
but
it's in structure.
I don't think he fit a damage control because that thing just evaporated as soon as his armor went down. But this
Looks
Omen,
like a couple of light drones coming after that Mollis again, so he's going to have to start shifting very, very quickly unless he wants to get caught up.
So it looks like we may have just traded the first Omen for a Punisher, essentially. And they're getting to work on the second Omen now.
Now it looks like these drones are going back after the Mollis, and it does look like the Mollis is damping the Harbinger, which I know would be really frustrating. Everyone always thinks ECM's the worst EWAR, but sometimes it can actually be damps.
It actually looks like the Omen that is the primary now, as well as a Mauler, have caught this Cerberus, and they've started pounding on him, while that Mollis does have some drones back on him, and so does the second Punisher.
Yep,
so the question is, if they're able to break this Serb before they lose more than these two Omens, will they be able to just finish off the other Serb or kite around him?
So Reverend there in that Omen, he is kiting out as far as he can, trying to get away from some of this Serb DPS. In the meantime, Levy in the Serb, he is into low armor and he is gone. So now we have on one side Serb, a very low hull Mollis, and a tackled Punisher versus one Omen who is about to die, two Maulers and a Harbinger.
It looks like that other Serb might be in reload, and this Omen might start getting some passive shield back. And
well,
looks like Soldarius might be down soon.
And he is gone.
And there goes the Omen. I spoke too soon. But
Mollis
is this
slowly
second
dying.
Serb caught? He's really close. He might be caught. It looks like, and this Harbinger and 2 Maulers can probably break this serve without much of an issue. That Harbinger is not something you want to mess around with.
No, the Harbinger is able to put out a lot of DPS from various ranges, especially with Scorch. So it's able to hit that Cerberus from not very from basically almost the other side of the arena. With Scorch, you can hit out to about 50 kilometers, no problem. And with those 2 Maulers, I think they might be fit with tackle. If they can get a tackle on that server and really hold him down, then that Harbinger will just trundle into optimal and just apply a hell of a lot of damage.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the strong things we saw yesterday is what makes this Amar setup so good is that ability to switch ammo, crystals, and range versus some of the blaster setups that did well, but some of them absolutely got destroyed by being able to be kited because they don't have that same ability to project in cases like this.
Yeah, for sure, especially with that Serb. I mean, he's likely to have to be inside optimal range from the Maulers and the Harbinger just to apply his damage at all. So that's not really a good place for him to be. Serb's nowhere near as tanky as the amount of EHP left in 2 Maulers and a Harbinger. So I think this one is pretty much over at this point.
Right, I think now it's just cleaning up the field. They have it on points even if they're not able to take him, but he's easily falling into armor now. He's finally boosting again his shields, but I think it's not long before this Serb bites the dust as well.
No, he is boosting back up to almost full shields. He was very low shields there, bleeding into armor, but he is almost up to full shields again. That Mauler on Socket Close side, he is about half armor, and I just don't think that the Serb is going to be able to kill that before he runs out of charges in his ASB and eventually just gets caught.
So the other thing, he would have to take care of not just the Mauler that's in half armor already, he would have to take care of the second Mauler to even pull this thing back out on points. So I think even if there's a disengagement for the next several minutes, this one's going to socket closed.
I think the Mauler also has a self-rep as well. And I know, I mean, they're pretty sustainable on their own for the most part. Like, I mean, it's going to suck. But yeah, taking them down is going to be very difficult. Although the Serb actually hasn't been caught. He's just kiting and slowly getting picked away at. Same with this Punisher, it seems.
Yeah, the Punisher doing a really good job screening for his Serb buddy just to try and apply as much damage as they can. But Joshua in that Serb now probably run out of charges in his ASP. He is now about a quarter shield. And unless he gets another reload off pretty soon, he's going to start bleeding into more armor. And then once he hits that, he's going to pop very, very shortly.
Yeah. He's doing pretty well at like getting a little bit of transversal while trying to burn away from these Amar ships, but yeah, I mean.
So it looks like he did manage to reload his booster one more time. He's now half structure. So if he can survive another cycle, that's as long as he's got. Because every time he survives a cycle, the time it takes him to reload, he loses another chunk of armor or structure. And now he doesn't have much structure buffer left. So I'd say this is his last hurrah. But can he kill this Mauler? Severely doubted, considering he's regened about 12% shield already.
Could he be reloading missiles as well? Seemed like he barely did any damage if he had to reload already.
Yeah, I think most likely he's just trying to kill those drones. Because those drones are pretty much what's doing a chunk of damage to him. They're catching up and they can apply, whereas if he just kites around away from the Harbinger and the Maulers, he can probably survive keeping his transversal up a little bit easier, maybe even with an unloaded booster.
It looks like he has gotten most of the drones, but he is putting his damage back on the Mauler, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And this Punisher looks like he might be caught and going down.
Yeah, for sure. He's
got warriors on him, and he's in structure and going down quick.
Yeah. He's trying to use the last of his HP to screen.
And now the drone's shifting to the Cerberus, so there goes the Punisher.
Well, I think a good showing from Test there, and they had a pretty hard matchup there. Most Amar ships shooting directly into Caldari ships, hole basically in the resists. So unless you specifically tank against it, you're from the get-go you were set up to lose there, I think. But definitely a good showing, lasting as long as they did, and kiting around, showing a lot of control and piloting there to stay alive as long as possible.
Absolutely.
Good fights in local.
Yep, and with that, we go back to the studio.